Hey, Blake Starkey here, and this is just a really quick impromptu video to kind of go along with this particular email. And look, this one's really just about some observations that I've had the last several years. And I have something that I notice, or I've been noticing, that kind of happens around the month of November. A lot of times it's leading up to November, and oh my gosh, it's definitely in the weeks and the months following November. And here's what it is. The national signing date for most universities, for most sports, is usually early in November. This year it was November 8th. And so what that is that's the date that kids actually sign their NLIs. It's the date that NLI stands for National Letters of Intent. And so what that is kids who have been recruited by colleges from all over the place, they usually kind of narrow it down and they figure out where they're going to go. And some kids, they hold out until the last minute. There's mystery involved. And then other kids, they'll commit, oh my gosh, junior year, they know exactly where they went, where they're going to be going, because parents went there and from day one, they've known where they're going to go to school. But the thing about the national signing date is that's the day where the rubber meets the road and the whole thing becomes real. And by real, what I mean is that's the date when kids actually sign. And one thing that's kind of cool is that you have a lot of high schools all over the place. Not all of them, but you do have a lot of high schools who they kind of have fun with it, and they actually have a signing ceremony. I mean, these kids have played football and basketball and volleyball and soccer and softball and tennis and whatnot. And so, these kids have played for these high schools, and they're in their senior year, and the schools are excited because this time next year these kids not only are going to be going off to college, but they've actually been recruited and they're going to be getting scholarships and they're going to play for schools. And usually it's very, very well-known schools, or it's maybe little mid-majors or little small schools. But the point of the fact is these really great kids are moving on to the next level, and they're going to get to play their sport at the college level, which is really just a great accomplishment. And so what the high schools a lot of times will do, or what several high schools will do, is they'll actually have this big ceremony. And I've seen some high schools where, oh my gosh, they literally release everybody in the school. So if you're not an athlete and you're in math, you get out of math and you go to the auditorium and you sit in there, and maybe the band is playing and they got the cheerleaders and the coaches and the administrators, and everybody's there, and it's a very proud day, and the band plays. And then what's it all for? No, it's not a pep rally. You literally watch a handful of kids sign a piece of paper and put on a hat, and that's it. So, but you have the parents there, and you have grandparents, and it's a really cool thing. And then other high schools, they don't do it that way. Like my high school didn't do it that way. But to this day, I remember signing my NLI. It's a big accomplishment. And so, anyway, like me, why is it that I notice, that I tend to notice this? Well, look, obviously with what I do, I created this Your Athletic Scholarship program, which is just, it's like one of the best programs in the country. It's not a recruiting service. I don't think there's any mystery. I'm not a big fan of recruiting services. Mine is just a program that you order, and then when you order it, you have everything you need. But, I will say down here in Texas, and, people that kind of know me, I start getting phone calls and I start getting emails, and, or, like I'm at Rotary or whatever, and I start getting approached by parents, and they're parents of athletes, and often they are parents of freshmen in high school, sophomores in high schools, sometimes juniors in high school, and they're asking questions. They're going deeper. It's not, oh, this is like the teammates of the kids who are going somewhere. It's like, oh, that's really cool. You're being recruited. It's more, I want to be recruited, and what do I need to do to be recruited? I want this to possibly happen for us. And a lot of times parents are the ones that really get involved, and they're asking some hard questions. And so, when I do start getting approached by parents and by these athletes, the only thing I can tell you is they're smart. They're doing the right things by coming to me and asking questions in the first place. And look, the first thing I do is the same thing I'm going to do right here in this video. I direct them to the Your Athletic Scholarship program, because look, I could sit there and I could rehash it, but it's all in that program 8 different ways, and it is all laid out for you. And so the first thing I do is I kind of aim them at my program, because it's just a very complete tutorial. It says, here's all the stuff you need to do. And what's happening is they're starting to realize that they're in a completely different game, so to speak. When you're in high school, you're developing and you're wanting to become as good as possible at your craft, whether that's basketball, football, whatever sports you play. You're doing little things in the weight room. You're doing the small things to try to become as good as possible. And that's great. This is a totally different thing. Knowing how to get yourself noticed by college coaches on a national level, knowing how to put your best foot forward, knowing all the stuff that you've got to do with the eligibility center, and knowing, certain deadlines, and knowing all about academics and social media, and on and on and on. There's just a lot. And so all I can say is I really do think that these athletes and these parents who are asking these questions, and they're going the extra distance. And because here's the deal, let's say we've got two athletes, let's say they are both baseball players, and let's say they play the same position, and let's say they're both very good. Well, one athlete may take the approach of, I'm good, and so of course the coaches are going to find me. The other athlete may also be thinking, I'm pretty good, and the coaches may find me, but I'm going to do some other things to make sure, because this is just too important to leave to chance. And so let's say that kid orders the Your Athletic Scholarship program, and then just like some of the stuff they're doing in school, they suddenly get this new list of checklists. They kind of get some homework, so to speak, and they start doing these actions, and they start taking these steps, and these steps lead to coaches noticing them, contact. And so I'll just say that one athlete who actually grabs the program, he's not sitting back and waiting. He's he's not being aggressive, but he's being very proactive. And the only thing I can call that is smart. So yeah, usually right around November, I start getting a lot of calls, usually on the front end, definitely on the back end. And usually because you've got parents and athletes who have just had to sit through a signing ceremony, and they're really starting to think about, that's pretty cool. That kid just signed a scholarship, and this time next year, that kid who I've been on the team with and who I think I'm right there with them, that kid's going off to this school, and their parents, maybe they're not having to pay for tuition, and that kid got a scholarship, and I think I can do this. How did that happen? Besides just them being good, what all did they do? And again, the only thing I can say is that's where the Your Athletic Scholarship program comes in. I coached for 20 years. I put the absolute best of what I have into that program. If you're somebody who's interested in playing your sport when you go off to college, or if you're the parents of an athlete and you're interested, you have certain different approaches that you can take. The whole thing with recruiting services, bottom line, I just feel they are way overpriced. And having been a Division I head coach who has signed countless athletes to full athletic scholarships and spent the better part of 20 years out there recruiting and really knowing what goes into this stuff, you just don't need to be paying $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 for this. There's definitely some stuff you need to know, and I've put together a program that is dirt cheap that you can purchase, and then you can learn all the stuff. And so mine is more like, I'm going to teach you what to do. I'm not going to do it for you, but I'm going to teach you what to do, because it is so doable. It's very doable. But you just need to grab the program. I'm going to tell you the same thing that I tell parents, usually in November, December, and January when they start approaching me. I'm like, I'll have conversations with them, but I ultimately point them in the direction of that program. Not necessarily because I just want to make a sale with the program. It's not that. That's nice, but that's not the biggie. It's very complete. And if I'm in a conversation, maybe there's some little corner that I've left out. Whereas when I put that program together, that thing was years in the making, and there's just nothing that's left out. It's not overkill, but there's nothing that's left out. So anyway, like I said, I just want to kind of throw this together. There's simply a quick email a quick video to accompany this particular email on an observation that I've made. And who knows, if you get the program and you take all the steps, you may be that next kid who's sitting up on stage and signing a national letter of intent as you get ready to go off and play your sport. And you're the one putting a hat on for a college that you're going to be going off and playing. And then later you're maybe being interviewed. And it's just a really exciting day for you and your family. It's a kind of a culmination of all this work that you've done. But, listen, don't think for a second that there's not other things that you need to be doing. And again, it's all covered in the program. So anyway, listen, I want to wish you the absolute best of luck, and I certainly hope to be seeing you getting involved with your athletic scholarship. Hopefully we'll be talking soon. See ya.